In 1990, a 15-year-old Kuwaiti girl, Nayirah, stood before the U.S. Congressional Human Rights Caucus. With tears streaming down her face, she gave a harrowing account of Iraqi soldiers invading a hospital in Kuwait City. She claimed she saw them take babies out of incubators, leaving them on the cold floor to die. It was a story that horrified the entire world. At the time, the American public was divided over whether to enter the Gulf War. Nayirah's testimony changed everything. Her story was cited by 7 U.S. senators and repeated by President George H.W. Bush at least 10 times in the following weeks. The incubator baby's story became the primary moral justification for military intervention against Saddam Hussein. The media broadcast her testimony globally. It painted a picture of absolute depravity that made any diplomatic solution seem impossible. Shortly after, the U.S. launched Operation Desert Storm. The war was swift, and the Iraqi forces were pushed out of Kuwait. Nayirah was hailed as a hero whose bravery had spurred the international community into action. However, after the war ended, investigative journalists began to notice inconsistencies. Human Rights Watch sent investigators to the hospital Nayirah described. They interviewed doctors and staff who had stayed during the occupation. To their shock, the staff reported that while the hospital had been looted, the incubator atrocity simply never happened. The investigation went deeper. It was revealed that Nayirah was not just a random refugee. Her full name was Nayirah al-Sabah, and she was the daughter of the Kuwaiti ambassador to the United States. She had not been a volunteer at the hospital. In fact, there was no evidence she had even been in Kuwait during the time the alleged crimes occurred. The most damning piece of the conspiracy was who organized the testimony. It was discovered that a massive U.S. public relations firm, Hill and Knowlton, had been hired by a group called Citizens for a Free Kuwait. This group was funded by the Kuwaiti government to the tune of nearly $12 million to sway American public opinion in favor of the war. Hill and Knowlton didn't just find Nayirah, they coached her. They used focus groups to determine which stories would most effectively trigger an emotional response from Americans. The babies in incubators trope was chosen because it was the most evocative. They even produced video news releases that looked like independent journalism, but were actually PR. When the truth came out in 1992, it was a major scandal. It proved that a foreign government and a private PR firm had successfully conspired to deceive the U.S. Congress and the public into going to war. The incubator baby's story was a manufactured atrocity, designed specifically to manipulate the emotions of a nation. This event changed the way many people viewed wartime reporting. It was a clear example of atrocity propaganda, a technique where fake or exaggerated crimes are attributed to an enemy to dehumanize them. While Saddam Hussein's regime committed many real crimes, this specific horror was a total fabrication used for political gain. Today, the Nayirah testimony is studied as a classic case of perception management. It serves as a reminder that in the lead-up to any conflict, the first casualty is often the truth. The conspiracy wasn't a theory. It was a $1 million marketing campaign that cost lives and changed the course of Middle Eastern history.